Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Welcome to Policy and Rights, the show about government policy and human rights. Welcome back to Policy and Rights here on Depictions Media Radio. I'm your host, Michael Clogs. Across Canada, we keep hearing about the housing problem, and that we're hearing from the real estate industry and the developers that there isn't enough supply. There needs to be more supply. The reason why the cost of homes is so much is because there's an inadequate amount of homes to go around to people. So, is all levels of government, are they giving free rein to developers to tear down houses, tear down whole neighborhoods, and rebuild them so that they have these high-rise condos and or shall we say that they are building townhouse complexes by the droves, claiming that this is going to be more affordable, more accommodating, and support the Canadian growth. Meanwhile, if it's supposed to be affordable, by which measuring are they using to determine if it's affordable or not affordable, when some of these townhouses are going for $300,000 or more a piece? So is that an affordable level for the average family to find a home? Is that still out of reach for the average? When we look at rents, especially in the area which we are in existence, that a rental that would accommodate two adults and a child is going to cost about $2,000 a month. Again, we ask the question, is that affordable? And the idea of subsidized housing, or housing that could be partly be paid for by the government. The list of people trying to get that particular type of housing programs is more than just around the block. Let's say it loops around a city, because there isn't much available that way. We're going to hear from a program in Toronto that is being sponsored by levels of government, and the Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland, is going to be at this event as they're talking about the programs that they have put in place in order to create a 12-acre housing development in Ontario near Toronto. The question is, what are the particulars of such a program, and how can it be put into other areas without disrupting too much of what is going on? Or should we be looking at other alternatives and limiting immigration and limiting the growth of our cities. So why don't we hear what a press conference that happened late last week, just before we jumped into the international court hearings that happened at The Hague between Israel and South Africa. So why don't we listen to this press conference that happened in Toronto Thursday of last week.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Joyner, Managing Director and Head of Multifamily at Tricon Residential. On behalf of my partners at Kilmer Group and Dream, we are incredibly proud to be here today to host Minister Freeland and discuss a wonderful public-private partnership that delivers affordable rental housing solutions at scale and strengthens the social fabric of our city. 5 years ago, our partnership was selected to develop these 12 acres of land and create a first-of-its-kind, 100% purpose-built rental community that includes 30% affordable housing, and in many ways is a pioneering model for city building. I say this for a few reasons. First, the significance of Canary Landing lies not only in its scale, but in its approach, which could only be realized through the vision, support, and coordination of all three levels of government, including our cornerstone CMHC RCFI loan, the City of Toronto Open Door Program direct investment, and provincial land contribution. Here at Canary Landing, across 2,500 rental homes, market and affordable homes are all finished to the same standard and have been integrated in a checkerboard throughout the community, as they should always be, to offer residents equal access to amenities, service, and community programming. This ensures that all residents, regardless of income, can thrive together. Secondly, sustainability is at the forefront of Canary Landing. Built to LEED Gold standards, Canary Landing is 30% more energy efficient than comparable buildings. And finally, what truly sets Canary Landing apart is our focus on resident experience. Acclaimed architects from Denmark, Kobe, and Toronto's own Architects Alliance have created landmark buildings that are more than just structures. They're homes, and they are designed to enhance our residents' lives. We've built bright, livable suites that are larger than market averages and designed with end users in mind. And we've designed and programmed our amenities to foster connection and build community. Today, Maple House, the first phase of Canary Landing, stands completed with 770 homes, including 231 affordable homes, and constructed in record time. We have hundreds of happy residents living in the community, and we've worked closely with affordable housing partners such as Wood Green, Interval House, Wigwamin, Costi, and March of Dimes, as well as the City of Toronto through an open market call to ensure that these homes reach those who need them most. Looking ahead over the next 2 years, the remaining phases of Canary Landing will complete, and we look forward to delivering thousands more much-needed rental homes. CMHC has estimated that Canada needs another 3.5 million homes by 2030 to restore affordability. Increasing the supply of purpose-built rental homes are a matter of national significance, and Tricon, Kilmer, and Dream are incredibly proud to be part of the solution. In closing, Canary Landing is a special community and one of Canada's finest examples of city building. It is also a testament to what is possible when all three levels of government partner with the private sector to work towards a common goal: introducing rental housing supply, providing affordable homes for key workers and their families, and creating communities that will have a positive and lasting impact for generations to come. Now, it is my great honor to introduce Minister Freeland, who continues to play a pivotal role in delivering complete communities just like Canary Landing across Canada.
Thank you very much. Bonjour. Je tiens tout d'abord à reconnaître que nous sommes réunis sur les territoires traditionnels de nombreuses nations, dont ceux de Mississauga du Credit, des Anishinaabe, des Chippewa, des Haudenosaunee, et des Wendat. I am so delighted to be here in Toronto today with my wonderful colleague, the local MP, Marci Ien, and with you, Andrew, and with the team of people who have made, I believe, this truly historic community possible. Here we are in Canary Landing, right next to the Distillery District. There are some things that I really want to highlight about why I'm here today, why Marci is here today, and why we really kind of want to take a metaphorical highlighter and point out to the people of Toronto, the people of Ontario, the people of Canada, what is being done here, because I think it's really important and something that we need to lean into and do more of. Canary Landing is the largest residential development in Canada. It includes 2,510 purpose-built rental units, 685 of which will be at below market rent. Those 685 units will be, some of them already are, for families, victims of domestic violence, seniors, persons with disabilities, artists, and Indigenous people. Andrew pointed out something really important about this development and something that I hope will be a model for how we build affordable housing in Canada going forward. And that is that, like, you guys walked around with us. These are really nice places to live. And one of the really important things is there is no difference between the apartments that are going to rent at market rent and the apartments that will rent at affordable levels. Andrew described it as a checkerboard system. Why I want to emphasize that is, look, if you do not have a place to live, the single most important thing is just to have a home, to be warm and dry and safe. But the apartments here are more than housing. They're true homes, and they are about creating a true community for all the people who live here. The people who are paying market rents and the people who are living in affordable housing. And that integration is something that we really, really need to strive for, because that's about building Canada. It's about building community, and it's about giving a real chance for the most vulnerable Canadians to truly thrive. People are already moving in to these buildings, and Marci and I think both of us were really touched by a story that Samina from Costi told us about a family that is one of her clients who have moved in here. And some of the units here, like, they're units for families. We looked at a four-bedroom apartment, a really nice one that's going to rent for $950. And hearing from Samina how living here for a family that was struggling to find housing has already transformed the life of the family, of the children. That's what this is all about. And Andrew was quite right to point out we need to do a lot more. We need to build more homes faster in Canada. I do want to say, though, the job is getting done, and it's being done in a way to really transform lives and build communities. I do want to take a moment to recognize and thank the skilled tradespeople whose hands and whose minds are building these homes. We need more of them too. These are exactly the types of homes that Toronto needs, that Canada needs, and we need them right now, and we need more of this kind of housing built faster. That's why I'm delighted that our government has been able to support a significant number of these new rental homes through our apartment construction loan program, the new name for the program that Andrew referred to as the RCFI. Specifically, That support helped to build 1,616 rental units here at Canary Landing with an investment of $801 million. The apartment construction loan program is a really important program. We topped it up with $15 billion in the fall economic statement because it makes the math work for builders like the people who built this great project, and it creates the right financial circumstances for them to build purpose-built rental communities like this one rather than condos. We're seeing right now what that money can do, what that money is already doing for Toronto, for Canada. Canary Landing est l'exemple parfait des grandes choses que nous pouvons réaliser quand tous les autres gouvernements, ainsi que les constructeurs, le secteur privé, comme le groupe Tricon, Dream et Kilmer, unissent leurs forces. Notre gouvernement est conscient que le logement constitue le principal défi du Canada à l'heure actuelle, en particulier pour la ville de Toronto. Nous savons que l'offre est au cœur de ce problème. C'est pourquoi le plan économique de notre gouvernement est axé sur la mise en œuvre de mesures réelles et concrètes visant à construire plus de logements plus rapidement. Just a couple of weeks ago, in November, I announced 7 major rental housing construction projects being built across Toronto using the apartment construction loan program, including 2,644 new rental homes. Cherry House here at Canary Landing is one of those projects, and people will start moving in next year, August, right? And just last month, I was proud to stand with the Prime Minister and many of my colleagues, together with Mayor Chow, to announce an agreement with the City of Toronto on the Housing Accelerator Fund. That federal fund is going to provide an additional $471 million to the City of Toronto to get more homes built faster. It will fast-track nearly 12,000 new homes in Toronto over the next 3 years and more than 53,000 new homes over the next decade. Our government is also making the path to home ownership more affordable for more Canadians through the new tax-free First Home Savings Account that was introduced last year. Ce compte permet aux Canadiennes et Canadiens de verser jusqu'à 40 000 $ pour l'achat de leur première propriété. L'argent qui y est déposé est non imposable au moment des cotisations et non imposable au moment du retrait. Pour la population canadienne qui économise en vue de l'achat de leur première maison, le compte d'épargne libre d'impôt pour l'achat d'une première propriété peut faire et fait effectivement une réelle différence. So this tax-free First Home Savings Account, which is tax-free in, tax-free out, is making a real difference in the lives of hundreds of thousands of Canadians. And I have an announcement about it to make today, which is we can now tell you that more than 500,000 Canadians, 500,000 Canadians, have now opened a tax-free First Home Savings Account. And that account only became available in the spring. So that is more than 500,000 Canadians who are one step closer to getting those first keys of their own. 500,000 Canadians who are taking concrete, practical steps every day in their lives to achieve the dream of owning their first home. And I'm really glad that the government is there to support those 500,000 hardworking Canadians. Whether it's helping Canadians to save for their first home, like those 500,000 Canadians who've now opened a First Home Savings Account, or getting more homes built faster, our government is going to continue working every single day to deliver for Canadians and to make housing more affordable for people from coast to coast to coast. Just before I close, I'd like to say, as the MP for University Rosedale, and as someone who is really proud and grateful to call this great city home, I'm glad that our federal government has provided more support to Toronto than any other federal government in Canadian history. Since 2015, the federal government has provided $5.47 billion in direct support to the city of Toronto. In 2023-2024, the current fiscal year alone, the federal government is providing more than $1.5 billion in direct support to the city. And I'd like people to compare that to the situation in 2015-2016, the year we were first elected, when the federal government was providing just $200 million to the city of Toronto. Toronto is such an important part of our government's economic plan. That is why our government has invested in, is investing in, and will continue to invest in the city of Toronto, including support for terrific projects like this one. We know this is an amazing city, and we also know we all need to work together to make it even better. Today's announcement is a great start for me to the new year, and our government is looking forward to continuing to deliver for the people of Toronto and for all Canadians. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you to everyone who has worked so hard and is continuing to work so hard to bring this project to life. And I'm now going to pass it over to my wonderful colleague, Marci. Over to you, Marci.
Uh-oh. Does this work, or do I get rid of it? Is it okay? No? All right. I'm going to just push it up a little that way. Hello, everyone. Bonjour et merci à tous ici aujourd'hui. I, too, want to start by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas, with the credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Thanks so much for the introduction, Chrystia. Andrew, it's great to be here with you and your team. Welcome to Toronto Centre, everyone. So, a note, because I want to share with you a little bit about what was going through my head as we went through the tour and we saw that 4-bedroom that Chrystia talked about, where a parent, woman, and children now live. There's stigma attached to housing. Here's what you might not know. I'm from St. Jamestown. That's where my family story begins. And so I know a thing or two about supportive housing. I know a lot about that. And to walk through and to see that you can't tell the difference between who has and who doesn't is extraordinary, because there is stigma when it comes to housing. Chrystia, you've always stuck for this city so well, this country so well. I am proud to serve with you. To all these familiar faces, your local heroes. Affordability, especially when it comes to housing, is clearly your passion. You're doing the work, and we're seeing the fruits of your labor, and that is really, really important. The size and scale of this project is incredible. This is a community. It's good to be here together to show what it means to listen to Torontonians, to listen to Canadians, to get projects like this done. The 30% of this project that Chrystia was talking about is specifically for women fleeing domestic violence, seniors, people with disabilities. You would have noticed the width of the corridors and the units. Accessibility is important. This project is about looking out for people that are at risk. And it's about building communities that provide for the people that are most impacted when it comes to a lack of housing options. And I have to say this overlaps, and Chrystia knows we all work together when it comes to this with my friend and colleague, Minister Kara. She's doing all that she can to help seniors, people with disabilities, and we know when it comes to those disproportionately impacted, accessible housing is hard. And it's hard when you have reduced mobility, especially for older people, for seniors. And this housing benefits all of those groups. The proximity of businesses and transit here will go such a long way. You thought about everything. You thought about it. You put your hearts into this, and we can see that. This piece regarding women and children fleeing violence builds on the agreements that we've signed through the National Action Plan to end gender-based violence. And I'm pleased to say that we now have signed agreements with every province and territory, and money is already flowing. Ontario, just a couple of months ago. We got this done by working with governments from every political stripe, because we know that to build a gender-equal country, we need to make sure women are safe, and today's announcement has a lot to do with that. It's tackling an issue as deeply rooted as intimate partner violence. Where do you go when you have to leave? What happens when you have to leave an abusive home? We're here today to show what it means when governments listen, when they actually put forward solutions that show results for people that don't always have a voice at the decision-making table. And again, Chrystia mentioned it, and I'm going to reiterate it because it's important. This community we're talking about is 2,510 685 of those homes, affordable homes. That affordable piece, as Chrystia mentioned, is so crucial because it is a commitment to build up this city in a way that works for more than just people at the top, because my family certainly wasn't. And I can't wait to see how this community develops over the next couple of years, because it's a model. This can be a model for communities across this country. This is game-changing for people in Toronto, for people across this city. So a hearty thank you to everyone involved. And there are many of you here. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your passion. Our focus on affordability, those in need, the speed we're getting homes built through the Accelerated Fund, and the fact, as Chrystia mentioned and shared today, because it's important, 500,000 Canadians, 500,000 Canadians, many of them young people, because I've spoken to them across this country, who have tapped into, who have opened a tax-free first home savings account. It's not by accident that this happens. This is the result of putting forward a plan that works for everyone. To close, thank you again. I really believe that this is what community building, you know, we sometimes hear that word or those words, community building. This is what it looks like. En travaillant ensemble, nous pouvons assurer un chez-soi abordable. Thank you. Merci. And Andrew, I'm giving the mic back to you. Oh, are you taking it? Okay.
Kat is moderating.
Not back to Andrew.
All right, now we can start the Q&A portion of the event. On va s'appeler des questions. It'll be one question, one follow-up. There's a microphone just there. Please just state your name and your media. Alors, on va s'appeler des questions. Ça sera une question et une question suivie. Veuillez noter votre nom et votre média. Il y a un micro juste là.
Good afternoon, Deputy Prime Minister Simon Dingley from CBC. Could we get you standing at the mic?
I didn't want to presume. You might want to ask someone else.
No. Deputy Prime Minister, documents obtained by Canadian Press show your government was warned that housing construction had not kept up with population growth, largely because of Canada's immigration targets. Why did your government not heed that warning and lower immigration levels?
Thank you for the question, Simon. And let me say this. As a country, Canada is probably the country in the world which is the most welcoming of new Canadians, which is the most welcoming of immigrants. And as finance minister, I have to say that is a huge economic strength. It is a real driver of our country's economic growth. And at a time when all of the industrialized countries in the world are facing huge demographic challenges, we are extremely fortunate as a country that we have the social capacity to welcome immigrants. You are quite right that if we want to be a country that welcomes new Canadians, and I strongly believe that's the right thing for all of us, we have to build more homes faster. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. Our government is totally committed to getting more homes built for Canadians. You have seen that unrelenting focus for weeks and weeks and weeks, for months and months and months. And, you know, we started the parliamentary session in the fall by lifting the GST on purpose-built rental on projects exactly like this one. Huge impact. You know, Mike Moffat estimates that's 200 to 300,000 new homes will be built. You saw in the fall economic statement, we added $15 billion to the apartment construction loan financing program, which is financing projects exactly like this. And one of the reasons I'm so glad to be here today is to highlight the work on getting more homes built faster. We have been pushing very, very hard over the past few months, but it's not brand new. This project started in 2018 and was made possible by programs that were in place then. And the final thing that I will highlight when it comes to getting more homes built faster, which we absolutely need, it is the most pressing economic and also social priority, is the Housing Accelerator Fund. That is having a transformative impact. That is something that was launched in the 2022 budget. There was a lot of eye rolling, a lot of skepticism. Will this ever happen? Will it make a difference? Well, it is. It's being rolled out. We did a deal with Toronto before the end of the year, and that will mean more than 50,000 additional homes get built, and it's $471 million for the City of Toronto.
Madame Deputy Premier Ministre, puis-je voir la même réponse en français pour Radio-Canada sur les problèmes avec les logements?
Oui, bien sûr. Alors, notre gouvernement est conscient que le logement, c'est la priorité économique et la priorité sociale pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes partout au pays. Et pour cette raison, notre travail, nos programmes économiques sont vraiment axés sur le logement. On a enlevé le TPS sur la construction du logement locataire. L'économiste Mike Moffat estime que ça créera entre 200 000 et 300 000 nouveaux appartements. C'est une grande chose. On a mis en œuvre notre programme pour l'accélérer. La construction du logement dans chaque municipalité au Canada. Et ce programme a commencé à vraiment changer l'approche des municipalités partout au pays dans la construction de nouveaux logements. Alors, on est d'accord que c'est une priorité pour les Canadiens et c'est pour cette raison qu'on travaille fort et on est là.
Thank you. Second question, Deputy Prime Minister. What's Canada's position on the merits of South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice?
Thanks for the question. We're aware of the filing, and our government is reviewing the case carefully.
Why won't Canada take a position on this, though?
One question, one follow-up. I'm sorry.
Okay. En français, la même question, s'il vous plaît.
On est conscient de cet enjeu et notre gouvernement est en train de faire le travail sur cet enjeu.
All right, next question, question, question.
Oliver Moore, the Globe and Mail. In your remarks, you talked about all the things your government has done for Toronto, and the city's position in response is, that's great, thank you very much for what you've done in the past, but what we need now is a commitment to $250 million by the 26th of January, or you'll have to raise the taxes by 6 percentage points. Is your government going to make that commitment? And if you don't, do you feel you are going to have to wear that tax increase?
Thanks for the question, Oliver. And I made a point in my remarks not only to talk about what we've done in the past for the City of Toronto, but what we're doing today and tomorrow. And I think it's important to highlight that in the 23-24 fiscal year alone, direct transfers from the federal government to the City of Toronto will be more than $1.5 billion. It is a lot of money, and it is particularly a significant sum when you look at it in historical context. And the historical context is that when we formed government in 2015, 2016, the level of direct federal support for the city was just $200 million. So we are a government that 100% believes in supporting cities. We are a government that 100% recognizes how important Toronto is as a city, as a community, as a great place where we all live, and also, frankly, as an economic engine of Ontario and Canada. And that is why we are we are investing aggressively and energetically in the city, and we're going to continue to do that.
Next question on the Honda plans or potential plans for EV plant. Did your government officials meet with Honda this week as expected, and is your government willing to offer more incentives?
There were various meetings with Honda by officials across the government. I had a meeting with Honda, and it's a company that has been a very important investor in Canada, an important provider of great jobs. That's a very important relationship, and our work with them is ongoing.
Adrian Gobriel, CTV National News. Hi, Minister. Following up on South Africa and their filings with the International Court today, your government's been aware of South Africa's position for days now. Why won't you share our government's position with Canadians? For, against, neutral, whatever it might be, why is it taking so long?
We are aware of the filing. We are reviewing it carefully.
That's the same answer you gave, Minister, with all due respect. Can we? Because
that's the truth. That's the position.
Next question, please. It's one question, one follow-up.
Yeah, I didn't have a follow-up. There wasn't a follow-up yet, so I'll ask it now. Thank you. Today, a recent poll by Abacus Data suggests that the Liberal government is falling further out of favor with Canadians. If there was an election held today, the poll suggests that 41% of Canadians would vote for the Conservative government, 24% for your government. Why do you believe that your government continues to fall further out of favor with Canadians, and what work do you believe needs to be done?
Really, thank you for that question, because I wake up every single morning. I know Marci wakes up every single morning also, thinking about the challenges Canadians face right now, and thinking about how we can work harder and more effectively to meet those challenges. That's what we're doing. From my perspective, the single biggest challenge Canadians are facing right now is housing. And that's why we're here making a housing announcement, highlighting some of the really important work that is happening, pointing to a model approach to building not only affordable housing, but real communities, talking about the First Home Savings Account, highlighting that so that Canadians know that's a really effective way to save for that first home of your own. I recognize that these are really hard times for a lot of Canadians, and our government's response is going to be to get up every day, to focus on the challenge at hand, and to work as hard as we can to answer it.
Minister David Ryder from the Toronto Star. I'm going to follow on Oliver's question about the Toronto budget, and that I'm hoping you'll look forward and not back at past investments and answer yes or no. Will your government give the City of Toronto the $250 million this year it says it needs to cope with refugee and asylum claimant costs that other cities simply are not seeing?
So again, David, thank you for the question. In my sort of initial remarks and in my answer, was also looking to the investments we're providing right now. We are still in the 23-24 fiscal year. $1.5 billion is a very significant federal investment. The Housing Accelerator Fund, which was announced just before Christmas, of nearly $500 million, unprecedented, and support for exactly what Canadians and the people of Toronto need. So I just really want to emphasize for people that the federal government has been there for Toronto. We are here for Toronto right now, and we will continue to be here for Toronto in the future because that's what we believe in. You know, you have with you here 2 cabinet ministers and Toronto MPs who love this city, who believe in this city, and who believe in investing in it. And those are not just words. That money is arriving in the coffers of Toronto and is delivering projects for this city every single day. To the particular question of asylum seekers, I don't know if Samina is still here. You know, I want to start by saying that this is an incredibly challenging time in the world right now. It is probably a time of more geopolitical, I was going to say something kind of academic, like turbulence or volatility, but it's more than that. You know, war has really come to a lot of people right now. It's a really, really hard time to be a human being in many parts of the world. And the whole world is feeling that, with a surge in the refugee challenge, with a surge in the number of asylum seekers around. Urging us all to recognize how lucky we are to be Canadian and to have real compassion for the millions and millions and millions of people around the world who are in a much more challenging situation. And I do also want to say that, you know, I can't name a country in the world that is more welcoming of refugees, thanks to the work of people like Samina and her organization, than Canada. That's the right thing to do, and we should be glad that we're a country that is able to do that. You said in your question that the challenge of asylum seekers is particularly acute for Toronto. I think that's a really good point. The $1.5 billion that I mentioned that we are providing this year to the City of Toronto includes stepped up support for asylum seekers, and we continue to work with the city on that issue.
Just to follow that, I was talking with a municipal finance expert, probably the best one in Canada, who, talking about the city's predicament, said the federal government controls which people come from other countries. It can guide them to places. It is not in any way a city responsibility, yet all those shelter costs, specifically shelter costs, fall on the City of Toronto. And why would that be? So I'll ask you, why would those costs fall on the City of Toronto, and why not on your government?
As I've said, in recognition of the asylum challenge, that $1.5 billion that the city is receiving in this fiscal year includes major stepped up support for asylum seekers. That was announced over the summer. Our government across the country this year is devoting more than $4 billion to support asylum seekers. I think it's also important for us to look at the challenge in the round, and we are doing that. And as I said, it is an issue where we are supporting the city today, and we're going to continue working with the city on it.
Next question. Question.
Hi, Minister. Nijud Amelis from the Canadian Press.
Hi, nice to see you in Toronto.
Yes.
Welcome.
Followed you all the way here. First question, I was wondering, what do you make of your security detail arresting David Menzies?
So, I want to start with what was important about Monday. And what was important about Monday, January 8th, was that was the 4th anniversary of a date that I think forever needs to be marked and circled in black on the calendar of all Canadians. It was a tragedy for Canada. Canadians were criminally murdered, and I want to say to the families and loved ones of the people who were murdered that Canada remembers, Canada will not forget. And that's why I was in Richmond Hill, Marci was there too, to show that this is a Canadian tragedy, that Canada remembers and Canada will not forget. On the incident, as you guys know very well, Canada is a rule of law country. Canada is a democracy. Operational decisions about law enforcement are taken by the police of jurisdiction. Quite appropriately, political elected officials have no role in the taking of those decisions, and that's why I don't have any further comment.
On immigration and housing, your government talks a lot about increasing housing supply, but obviously you know that takes time. So I'm wondering, what about demand? Do you believe that tempering demand by tempering migration flows into the country could be part of the solution to the housing crisis?
Thank you for the question. And I do want to start by saying, I think it's important for us as Canadians to recognize the really positive role that immigration plays for our country. Canada is, I would say, in the world, uniquely welcoming of immigrants. That is a real economic strength for our country. Right now, in the wealthy, industrialized world, one of the big long-term economic and social challenges is demographics. Thanks to the fact that we're a country that it knows how to welcome immigrants, that is a challenge that Canada is uniquely positioned to meet. And I think it's important for us to recognize that and really realize what a fundamental economic and social strength of our country that is. Having said that, you are absolutely right that for immigration to work as a Canadian economic strategy, we have to be sure that housing supply keeps up, and that is what our government is absolutely focused on doing. And I think we do have to be sure that our immigration system is working as intended. You will have heard my colleague Mark Miller talk about international students and talk about the work that he is doing to be absolutely certain that when people come here as a student, they are coming to a school that is really going to educate them, and that they're coming to a school that's ensuring that there is housing in place for them. That is a very reasonable expectation of international students and their parents when they come to Canada, and that is an area where there is absolutely work to do.
All right, next question.
So, are all these housing developments feeding our common theme of, hey, let's support corporate greed, or are they really going to help people find adequate homes and housing so that we can have a happy life? When I look around the area in which we live and exist in British Columbia, I see the tent cities. There are more and more of those. We see more and more evictions of these tent cities where they're sending the police to come tear them apart, confiscate property, whatever they can do to be rid of the tent cities. And at the same time, there are more renovictions happening, people just being put on the street because, hey, we're going to tear down what it is that you're living and we're going to put something else up. And one, in the meantime, it displaces people. Two, that the cost of the new housing is out of reach for the family that they just pushed out onto the street. There's a lot of issues around homelessness, housing, and what to do about it as Canada's cities are hitting a growth pain and how to deal with more people moving into the cities. Thank you for listening to Policy and Rights. I've been your host, Michael Clogs, and please find that subscribe button wherever you are. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.